All right, and we're live. So, hey everyone, thank you for joining us here today in this live at ProFusion 2020. My name is Francis, and we are going to take a look at the Fujifilm X-T4 in this live, the flagship APS-C model for Fujifilm. So we understand that in these days, it could be hard to get to a store and get a good look at a camera and get a feel for it. So the idea of this live is really going to be to show you the camera from different angles, show you around, take a walk around the camera, show you the different buttons, more than going into deep into the functions of the camera and the specifications of the camera. So if you want to know more about these, we have very detailed first look videos on the Fuji Guys channel. So I would invite you to go there and watch them if you want to know more about the specs and features. So yeah, so X-T4, we're going to get right into it. So let me get to the top-down view and then have me in the corner there. So we have the Fujifilm X-T4. Like I said, the flagship model for the APS-C line of cameras from Fujifilm in the X series. So we're going to take a look first at the front of the camera. So the first thing we're going to see is that we have a front command dial right here. That's also clickable. So that's the front command dial. Next to it, we have a function button. So by default, if you press on it, this will bring up the drive options. But as any function buttons, it could be remapped to your favorite feature that you use the most often and you want to have access to really quickly. So you have a function button up on the front. We have a AF assist lamp in the front of the camera that will help you focus in low light situation, but this can also doubles as a tally light if you set it in the camera. So I find this feature quite useful. As you might know, we record videos for the Fuji Guys channel, and especially nowadays, you know, I record by myself. So I have the camera on a tripod and then I click on record and start talking. Having the tally light on actually lets me know whenever the camera is recording. So if I press on to start recording, you can see that the light is blinking. So that way I know that the camera is recording. If for any reason I didn't press the shutter enough to start recording the video, or something happened, the card stopped, you know, corrupted or something, I wouldn't keep on talking and then finally get back to the camera and then realize that I spoke for 15 minutes for nothing and have to redo it again. So having this tally light up in the front is something I really enjoy on the Fujifilm X-T4. Now let's stop this recording. There we go. Next, we're going to get under the lens and take a look at the sensor. Let's see if I can get that nice reflection. Oh, not really. So the Fujifilm X-T4 features the latest sensor we have to offer, which is the APS-C 26.1 megapixel X-Trans 4 BSI CMOS sensor, which is also stabilized. So we have in-body image stabilization on in the X-T4, and that will offer up to 6.5 stops of image stabilization, which is quite useful for both photos and videos. And as I alluded to before, we create videos, and having the IBIS is such a nice feature for us whenever we go on to record videos. We are not a huge crew and we don't like to carry a lot of stuff. And having the IBIS actually works really well for us for filming our talking points as well as our B-rolls. We kind of don't need a gimbal anymore. Now, I'm not saying the IBIS will replace a gimbal, but for our use, it's actually more than good enough to get our B-rolls with the IBIS. Now, the IBIS system will work in conjunction with the OIS lenses. So if you have an OIS lens attached to the X-T4, it will actually use both the OIS and the IBIS and will take the best of each system, the best of the OIS and the best of the IBIS. So if one axis is better on the OIS, it will prioritize this, and the other axis will be on the IBIS, for example. So that's for the IBIS. If we look now onto this side of the camera, we have a little cover here. So if we take it away, unscrew it, we have a PC sync port. So that will be useful if you use some old flashes to sync them up. So PC sync connector in the front of the X-T4. Now let me screw it back in. Next, we have our AF mode selector. So we have the option of choosing single, continuous, or manual focus. So that's where you would choose your AF mode on the front of the camera. Now, going under the camera, we have our battery door. So if we open it up, we can see it reveals the brand new battery for Fujifilm, the NPW235. This is a 2,200 milliamp hour battery. So this is almost twice the amount of power that we get from the NPW126. So that's a very welcome addition to the X-T4, having this new battery. So it goes right in there. Next, we have a tripod socket, so in line with the lens. And then we have here a little rubber cover, which reveals the connection pins for the battery grip for the X-T4. So let's put it back here. Now, if we go on the top of the camera, still in focus, yes. So going on the top of the camera, we have the on and off switch, and within that we do have the shutter button. Now if you notice, there's some threads in there, so if you like to customize your camera and have a nice soft release button, you can attach it to your X-T4, as well as use a mechanical release cable. You could screw it in as well. Next to that, we have another function button. So again, you can assign any function you would like to it, whatever suits you need. Personally, I like to assign the toggle on between the face and eye detection, so I can quickly switch between the two. Or another option I would find very useful, since I shoot in the studio as well, I would toggle the live exposure preview on and off with this button. So these are my two choices. Next, we have the exposure compensation dial. So this is quite useful, especially for someone like me that likes to shoot in aperture priority. So having the shutter speed set to A and then choose the aperture on the lens. That way I can look through the viewfinder, and if I have a backlit situation and I want to overexpose it, I can quickly turn it and have it one stop over. I can go up to 3 stop over and then -3 stop. And then we also have a C position, which will allow us to go up and down 5 stops. So by using the front command dial, I can move the needle there, and I can go up and down 5 stops. So that's for the exposure compensation dial. Next, we have the shutter speed dial here. So you can select your shutter speed using this dial. And then you can see we have full stops on the shutter speed dial. Now, if you wanted to go in between, let's say the 2000 and the 1000, you could actually use the rear command dial and then go in between the exposure shutter speeds. You could set it to A, like I said. If you like to shoot in aperture priority, you set it to A. You can lock it, so that way you won't accidentally bump it, and then choose your aperture using the aperture ring on the lens. Under the shutter speed dial, we have a dedicated stills and movie switch. So if I go into the stills mode, a nice thing is that I have a dedicated menu for the stills shooting. And then if I go into the movie mode, I have an independent movie menu. So all the movie settings will be listed there, and I won't have any of the photo options listed there. So that makes it much cleaner rather than having to go through every single menu items. So that's for the stills and movie switch. If we look on the side here, we have our view mode button. So that will allow us to toggle between the different options in terms of the LCD and the EVF, how we want it to react. So if I click on it, you can see I can toggle through the different modes. So I have LCD only now. So if I cover the eye sensor, it's not going to go up to the EVF. Now, if I click again, I can't see, but I'm guessing by memory this is going to be EVF only. And then again, I can toggle between the different view mode using the view mode button there. Up top, we have a hot shoe. So if you want to use an external flash or a transmitter for your external flashes, that's where you would put it. If we go in order, we have here a diopter adjustment for the EVF. So we can simply, now if I want to show you the motion correctly, we pull on it and then you see it's unlocked, and then we can set it and then lock it back. So you should really only set it once, hopefully, and then that way, you know, it's locked so you can't accidentally bump it and change the diopter. So that's really useful. Now, speaking of the viewfinder, the EVF, since we're here, sorry, we have a very nice and bright, sorry, we have a really nice and bright 3.69 million dot OLED organic display, which can go up to 100 frames per second as a refresh rate. So very nice, bright, and a very lifelike EVF. So when you look through the EVF, you have a really nice and fluid view of what you're shooting. So that's for the EVF. Next, we have the ISO dial, which I really enjoy having as a dedicated dial. So again, you can choose your ISO, and then once it's chosen, you can actually lock it. That way you can't accidentally bump it, and then clicking again will release it, and you can change your ISO again. Underneath that, we have our drive dial. So we can choose between the different drive options. So single, continuous low, continuous high. And then we have our bracketing and advanced filter, as well as panorama. Now, while we're at the drive dial, I do want to do something that's really satisfying. So I've put it to continuous high, and I just want to show you having the X-T4, which has a burst rate of 15 frames per second. This is really satisfying. So yeah, sorry, I went sideways on that. All right, so that's for the top of the camera. Now I just noticed, and Billy told me you should have put a full battery, and I guess I didn't listen. Sorry, Billy. So I'm gonna put a fresh one in there. All right. So now we're gonna get to the back of the camera. So we have a real nice view here. So if we look at the back of the camera, we have our Q button to access the quick menu, so we can get access to quick settings of the camera. This is also customizable. If you wanted to be something different, you could remap it to something else. We have the AF on button. So if you like to shoot with the back button focusing technique, you could do so with the X-T4 by simply pressing on the AF on button, and the camera will focus that way. This is also customizable as well if you want to assign it. If like me, you don't really use back button focusing, you can utilize this button for another feature. Same with the auto exposure lock button, which is right there. You can assign it to something else if you want it. Now we're going to get to this side of the camera. We have the playback button, which is pretty self-explanatory. You get into the playback mode. We have our delete button right there. We have on the X-T4 an 8-way lever, which I really enjoy to move my focus point around. When using single point autofocus, this is something I really like to use more than the touchscreen. I like to use the 8-way lever for that. Now, if you press on it, it will enable you to change the size of your focus point. And then you can see I have the AF mode set to all, and then I can go through the different sizes of single point, then get into zone, then get into the different sizes for zone, and get into the wide tracking as well. Personally, I like single point better, but that's just me. So 8-way lever, you can move your focus point around. You can also navigate the menus with the joystick. This is also my preferred way. So I just use the joystick to navigate the menus and then go in, and then I can click in to select. Next, we have our D-pad, so directional pad, which again can be used to navigate the menus, but also our function buttons. So if I press on them, I will bring different functions. And these, again, are customizable, so you can assign different functions to each direction. So that's the D-pad. In the middle of it, pretty self-explanatory, we have our menu OK button, which will bring us into the menu. And then we can also use it again to confirm our choices. Under that, we have the display back button, so I can come back in the menu, and then I can get back to the screen. And then while I'm in the live view, I can actually click on the display back button to toggle between the different view mode options. Now, lastly, for the back of the camera, we have this nice vari-angle LCD. This is actually a 1.62 million dot LCD, so a very nice and detailed screen that will enable you to frame your pictures, but also review your images, make sure it's in focus. It's also a touch screen, so you can assign touch functions. As you can see, if I swipe, I can do different things with the swipe functions. So bring up different options. So that's for the touch screen. It is a 3-inch display. And for photos, it's going to be really nice if you want to get into difficult angles. You know, you want to get low to the ground or get high up. This will be nice for photo. And also, if you do want to take some selfies with the X-T4, you could do so. And then from there, you can see me coming. For video, this is going to be quite useful if you are a content creator or a vlogger. You can use the screen to frame yourself, make sure you're correctly framed within the picture, make sure you're in focus. But also, if you're, again, a content creator and you have the camera on the tripod, you can make sure your framing is right, and that will be really helpful. And then the last kind of feature of that vari-angle LCD is that you can actually flip it inward, so that when you're traveling with the camera in your camera bag, your LCD will be protected and it won't get scratched. So this is really nice. Again, putting it in your bag, make sure your LCD screen is secured. Now, let me bring it back and then remove all these functions. Going on to the side of the camera now, this side, we have the memory card door. And yeah, you can get a good view. We have 2 SD card slots. So these are actually UHS 2 compatible, so very high speed. So if you're recording 4K videos at 400 megabits per second, it can handle it. Also, if you're shooting sports and you're doing some burst shooting, that will be quite useful because you can have really fast cards. Now, the battery, the SD card door can also be removed just like that. And then we can put it back on and close it. Now, onto this side of the camera, we have 2 doors. So let me open up the first one. So we have a 3.5 millimeter microphone input. So if you want to put an external microphone for recording videos, improve the sound quality, you have a standard 3.5 millimeter microphone input. Under that, you do have a remote port. So that's a 2.5 millimeter port. So if you wanted to use a cable release to shoot some pictures, long exposures, and things like that. Underneath that, we have, let me try to get a good view of that. We have a micro HDMI cable. So that will enable you to, the old school way, if you want to plug it onto your TV and show images or watch videos from the camera, you could do that. But this will also enable for you to use an external recorder to actually output an uncompressed 4K signal that's going to be up to 60 frames per second, 422 at 10-bit. So really, if you're serious about shooting videos and you do have an external recorder, you'll be happy to know that you can get 4K 60, 422 10-bit out of the X-T4. Now, the last port we have is the USB-C port, which does a lot of things. So first, you'll be able to charge the battery through this USB-C port by using the USB cable and provided charging block. That's a 15 watt and 15 watt 5 volt charging block. So you would just take these and then connect it to the wall, and then that way you can charge your battery inside the camera. Next, using the USB-C port again, you would be able to power the camera. So the X-T4 supports power delivery. So if you have a power bank, a battery pack, external battery pack that's PD compatible, as you can see there. So you can just take the battery and then plug it into the X-T4, and then you will get a constant power through the battery pack. So if you're shooting time lapses, for example, if you're shooting videos for a very long time, this will be quite handy to be able to power the camera via an external battery pack. So we tested it with this battery pack, which is 26,000 milliamps, and I left the camera open, just powered on, and I was able to get about 10 hours of battery life out of the external battery pack. So just the camera open, not recording or anything, but that's still very impressive. Now, the USB-C port can also be used to monitor audio when you're recording videos. So using an adapter, a USB-C adapter to 3.5 millimeter, you can plug in your headphones, and in that way you can monitor audio when you're filming videos. So that's pretty neat. And then lastly, if you want, you could use the X-T4 as a webcam for video conferencing. So if you want to have a nice shallow depth of field bokeh, you could do so. You simply have to go to the Fujifilm website and then download the driver for the computer. This is compatible with PC and Mac, so that's pretty good if you want to have, you know, nice video quality when doing video conferencing. So that's about it for the walk around of the X-T4. Now, sorry. Now, I want to go through the different kit options for the X-T4. So you can buy the X-T4 as a body only. So if you're already within the Fujifilm X series system and you have some lenses, you could buy the X-T4 as the body only. It is also available with the 18-55 that I've been using throughout this video. So just to give you a look at it, how it looks with the 18-55. And then it's also available as a kit with the XF 16-80 mil. So that's an f4 all the way stabilized lens, weather resistant lens. So just to give you a look at it from different angles. Now I'm going to go through the different accessories that comes with the X-T4 in the box. So we have obviously the X-T4 as a body or the lens you bought it with. We have an NPW 235 battery that comes with the camera. We also have a USB-C to USB-C cable. We also get the charging block, which, as I said before, is 15 watts, 5 volt, which is USB-C as well. And then we also get a nice padded strap with the X-T4. So time is running. It goes fast when you're talking to yourself. So let me go through some couple accessories you might be interested to get with your X-T4. So personally, I would definitely get a second battery. That's for sure. The NPW 235. I would get an extra one. One of my favorite accessories actually is the brand new dual charger for the X-T4, the NPW 235 battery. So it can charge 2 batteries at once, and then it will actually display the percentage of each batteries on this little LCD there. And if you use the supplied power brick with the USB-C cable, both batteries will actually be charging at the same time. Now, if you use a different charging block, like your phone charging block, for example, it will still charge both batteries, but one after the other. And then the last accessory that I would recommend would be the vertical battery grip for the X-T4. So let me quickly put it onto the X-T4. So as you can see, I can take that little rubber and there's a nice little spot for it so I don't lose it. So just lining it up and then screwing it in. And then as you can see, the battery grip will give me a duplicate of some buttons. So I get the 8-way lever again on this side whenever I'm shooting this way. We have our AEL and AF on button, our rear and front command dial. We have our Q button and our function button as well on it. And we have a lock switch if we have the battery grip attached to the camera, and then we don't want to accidentally take some photos by pressing on the shutter button that's there with our with our hand. So you can lock it there. You have a boost mode selector here. And then on the side, we get an actual 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So you can plug your headphones directly in there. And then that will give us also a battery tray with 2 extra batteries. So that means I have 2 batteries in the grip, and then I have 1 inside the camera. So I get 3 cameras total, 3 batteries total. And then if I use the USB-C cable, which is here, and then plug the camera to the wall, it will actually charge the 3 batteries within the camera and the grip. So this is also a really nice feature. If you have a lot of batteries, you have the dual charger and the battery grip, you can basically charge 5 batteries at the same time. So yeah, we're running out of time here. So well, first of all, I do want to say thank you to everyone who joined this live. Let me get back to a full screen of myself. So thank you everyone for joining in this session. I hope this was useful for you to get a look around the X-T4. Now, if you have additional questions, I know Billy was answering some questions in the comments while I was talking, but if you have some more questions about the X-T4, or you're looking to buy an X-T4 and you have some questions, you can schedule a tech time 30-minute conversation with one of the Fuji guys so that we can help guide you if you have any questions or hesitating between different lenses. If you are looking to buy a camera, if you already buy a camera, we will be happy to help you. So just go ahead and schedule a tech time appointment, and then we'll be happy to help you. So I just want to say thank you to Vistek for hosting this ProFusion, which is virtual this year. And if you're looking to buy a Fujifilm camera, please look at the event site. They have special prices for the 2 days of ProFusion. So this is for a limited time. And yeah, this was Francis. Thank you again for joining in, and have a great day. Thank you.